Members of the business community have re-emphasized the importance of incorporating digital technologies in business operations. They say this will positively impact on customers' relations.
Digital, in the broadest sense, is any technology that connects people with each other or with information. For some businesses, it's about the core technology. For others, it's a new way of interacting with customers. For some, it represents new ways of doing business. New technologies are shaping the way consumers interact with their ecosystem, and this trend is what has prompted the Franco-Nigeria Chamber of Commerce to put together this breakfast meeting.
Everybody is talking about digital, but I think that was the first time that we have such accurate view and very practical situation explained to the Franco-Nigerian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who has organized this fantastic meeting, and for the benefit of all the members and participants.
I think governments should be aware of the technologies that are emerging. I think governments should spend the time and the effort to understand them, and in their role as being responsible for managing risks on an economic level, on a global level, they would then make decisions. But governments will need to educate themselves on the new technologies and emerging technologies that businesses would, with or without their support, take on.
The world is indeed a global village, and a lot of positive and negatives come with this development. But many argue that this could lead to massive job losses in the entire system.
I also think that it will also bring some new sets of jobs that will require a lot more intellectual horsepower, or things that will require creativity. I think jobs like art, law, and also programming and things like that will remain. I think even your job right now, I don't think I want to be talking to a robot like this, will remain. But I think a lot of repetitive manual things that people just say, that humans don't usually enjoy anyway, will be taken away. So the take home is that we should all evolve and get to higher tasks, things that require a lot more creativity.
Data protection, we're talking about firewall and the rest of them, stealing of data and the rest of them. But we understand these challenges. Of course, every migration process also has definitely its own challenges, but they are also looking at it to ensure that we block these challenges and the rest of them. But we can't say because of the disadvantages of integrating digitally, we're going to leave the space, because that is where all companies are coming on today. It is either you're on your website, on your mobile application, consumers and selling their products for this platform, or else there's nothing that is happening around that.
Speakers at this event say government must harness the power of digital technologies and data to transform its existing business model in order to meet the increasing appetite and expectations of the digital consumer.
I have in the studio live Tosin Eni Olorunda. He's the founder, Team Apt Limited. Thank you very much for spending your afternoon with us.
Thank you, Tolu.
Let's start this way. Like what you said there, we have to evolve. Absolutely. We have to flow with the tide. Now, tell us, how far have we gone in this part of the world talking about technological advancement, taking advantage of it in Nigeria?
Okay, actually, I think Nigeria is actually doing pretty well with respect to advances. Perhaps, if I want to say what percentile are we, perhaps in the 70th percentile, 60th percentile. Of course, the much more advanced nations like China and the US are a lot more advanced than us, but we're not doing pretty badly. I've been to a couple of other nations, especially even in our financial technology space. Nigeria is quite advanced, maybe not fully advanced, but we're not lagging behind with respect to our financial technology. But in the much more bigger digital space, perhaps there's a lot more that we need to do. I might also be talking from a sample size of people that I deal with every day. Okay. There are lots more people that are still excluded that can be included in the digital space. But all in all, the internet penetration in Nigeria is not bad. Mobile penetration is not bad. Perhaps they are still expensive, but they are not bad. People still do a lot of, there's presence of online shopping, for an example. There is presence of doing transactions through payments through digital means. You have instant loans today. So Nigeria is not doing too well. There are a lot of places we could advance, in areas of robotics, in areas of education technology, in areas of like geographical technology systems, GIS. There are lots of places we could advance in. But all in all, with respect to say Africa as a whole, we're not bad.
We're not bad.
We're not bad.
We're not looking at that fear. I always like to ask you that question every time I see you. That fear always comes up. Look at like the banking industry. Many say one day maybe you get into, well, it's already happening. The ATM stock to you and you get paid.
That's right.
Are you sure one day some of these jobs will go into extinction?
Absolutely. A lot of jobs will go into extinction. That's certainly going to happen. I think manual, repetitive tasks will go into extinction. I think creative tasks will remain. It is inevitable that the world will go the way of automation. Machines do things faster, machines do things cheaper, machines don't make mistakes, machines don't get tired. So even TMAPS, one of the things that we do is in the field of robotics for our customers today. We go into the customers' operations, implement some of our robots there, they take over their manual repetitive tasks, and it saves them tons of money and they are more profitable. As long as businesses operate that way, they want to lower their costs. So it's inevitable that machines will take over certain things. However, people still need to build those machines, for example, right? And secondly, where it has to do with human interaction. Yes, I've seen that there was a robotic newscaster, but I wonder how that would scale. I think I'd rather want to talk to a human being. I don't know how robots will defend you in the court of law.
You know?
I do not know how robots will, for example, take over entertainment, where I am interested in Davido's personality, for example. I think it's a couple of areas will remain. I think, however, everybody should realize that you need to move on to the higher levels of tasks. What you do are things that can be repetitive, are rule-based, and there's no like serious level of specialization in it, you are a key prime component for digitalization and being taken over by robots. In China today, you have robots taking over jobs of caterer, of people in restaurants. Yes, you have robots that are actually serving people their food. You know, you have robots that are taking over the jobs of hotel attendants. You can actually go to one of Alibaba's hotels in China, and you place an order, and a robot to pick up that whatever you requested for, all the way, bring it, enter, navigate all the way to the lift, bring it up to you, and actually like play a tone to replace you. So I think it's inevitable that those kind of things will happen, but the rest of people that say, robots, for example, are also taking over some little managerial jobs. In Amazon today, they have built robotic systems that even fire people when you actually go below a certain level of performance. It is that automated. So it's a real threat, but the people that are safe are people that have higher levels of reasoning that require some level of creativity, like building, like humanities. Those are the kind of things I think.
Before I go to issues around disruption and how prepared, I really want to know, you're in the business, so how prepared would you say Nigerians are to face this task ahead? Because it's a great one ahead of us to meet up.
Yes, I think that we still have a lot of work to do, to be honest, yes. As much as I know that we're advanced in terms of technology, we're not that bad. With respect to automation and robotics, we still have a lot of work to do. Yes. Robots and automation thrive a lot where data is organized. It's one of the biggest things. Where data is not organized, where it is not repetitive and rule-based, robots don't thrive, digitalization don't thrive. However, the problem with not being organized is that you are actually also wasteful. So you will not be able to compete on a global level. So if you need to actually become organized. The moment you become organized, you become a prime target for automation also. So I'll give you an example. Today, maybe some things my people are doing in the office today, after we actually automated that process, which is even one of the things that I just left now, what used to take them like 6 hours to do, took like 5 minutes to do. Oh, I will not be able to compete in my business if we don't do that. However, what has happened now is that the person who thought he was doing a lot of important job, his job has suddenly become useless. In fact, we said that we are hiring an intern to do that job as I left the office now. So in Nigeria today, if we're going to compete on a global scale, you need to become organized. Also, when you become organized, it becomes a prime target for disruption digitally. So I think we still have a lot of things to do if we're going to actually get to the global scale.
So while I was preparing for this discussion, I stumbled on issues around consumers' data being opened,
Yes.
and people could just come in and
Yes.
take advantage. Or a lot of issues, security issues.
Yes.
How well are we managing that when it comes to digitalization?
I think we still have to do a lot of work with respect to protection of consumer data. Consumer data today, in Europe, for example, Google has been subject of several multi-billion-dollar fines over the way they are using the data. And the same kind of data is the same kind of data that we are actually generating also in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. But the nature of data is that it's actually my property. It's a digital extension of something that I own. It's my identity. So when you use my data inappropriately, it's similar to you stealing something that I own physically. But because of the level of enlightenment of some of our policymakers, where perhaps we're still struggling to understand the nature of this digitalization that we're saying, it's hard to come up with policies that perhaps it's harder for them to come up with policies that is going to actually assist the industry in protecting consumer data. So what my own opinion will be with respect to this consumer data is to not dampen the industry momentum, because when people don't understand certain things, it begins to feel like we are making decisions to stop it. I kind of feel like policymakers should come up with policies that will begin to gradually shift the industry in the direction of understanding and appreciating consumer data. And some of those things are things like open networks, where is the consumer that will give the grants of the user of that data to have access to that data. I'll give you an example. If, for example, you want to log into a website and they say log in with Facebook, okay, you are the one that will authorize Facebook to give access to that platform. So let's say that you want to log into, let me give an example. What's this game called? The Candy Crush.
Okay, okay.
So, and when you authorize your application to actually use Facebook to log in, the point now is that it is putting you in your own control. But some of the experiences that I have today is that they don't even ask you in Nigeria before they get access to those data. So what policymakers need to do, and the policymakers include all the people like Central Banks of Nigeria, people like the NITDA, all the different agencies need to do, is to understand that consumer data is actually real data, is their property. And they need to actually sensitize the industry to actually make customers be in control of their data and give access to such.
You just touched central bank, and I just remembered fintechs and all of that for the banking industry. How well are we also doing in that aspect? I know banks are really keen into it now. So how well are we doing, and what are the positives?
Tolu, I'm happy to tell you that the fintech industry in Nigeria is thriving. I think they are really thriving. I think in a couple of 5 years, we might see multi-billion-dollar fintech emerging companies in Nigeria. I'm looking at a couple of my colleagues, and I'm happy at the kind of strides that they are making. You see, the nature of innovation is whenever you innovate internally to fill internal demand, because of the economies of scale that you have built internally, by the time you step outside of your country, you find more opportunities than you milk. So let us give an example, is Ford. Ford decided to say he wants to build cars for the American family. He started building, got economies of scale, went outside of America and began to sell to other countries. The same thing Toyota. What we're seeing in Nigeria currently are fintechs solving the problem of Nigeria. Perhaps they're one of the reasons I said Nigeria is not too far behind. But what they are trying to now do is they are now going outside Nigeria, expanding to global markets and solving some of these problems also. There is a lot of influx of foreign capital. Apparently close to a couple of hundreds of millions of dollars of foreign capital flowed into Nigeria early this year alone, because they want to foster innovation of the Nigerian fintech. So, and I think the central bank is also trying, as much as possible, they're also coming up with regulations to guide the fintech industry. They have put regulations in place to not stifle us too much. in as well as to also guide us. It's a good thing, but I believe that they can also, help, because I know one of the major issues some of my colleagues also complain about will be, some of the monetary requirements, which I kind of understand, to be honest. It's a way to show that people are serious. And also our banks, I just left one of the execs of one of the banks today, and he told me, Tosin, that we are ready to work with you guys. They know that in the next 3-4 years, if you go outside Africa, Nigeria today, in Ghana, in Kenya, in Congo, a lot of Nigerian banks have presence there. For example, in Ghana, they separate the banks into 3: Ghanaian banks, Nigerian banks, and foreign banks. So I kind of see what is going to happen is the same repetition of such levels of successes that some of our banking forefathers have created outside Nigeria that will also be repeated.
Tosin Olorunda, thank you very much. Founder, Team Apt Limited. Thank you for spending the afternoon with us, making sense of all of these issues around technology and all of that. Thank you so much, Tosin.
Thank you, Toto.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.